I love fighting games, so I want to talk about some of the issues that the genre is suffering from. First, they're intimidating. Competition, motion inputs, I don't think that they're that bad, but they end up scaring a lot of the potential player base. And even when some attempts are made to try and reconcile with this side of the audience, it just ends up muddying the waters. Also, I believe that the genre is in a sort of a weird state, where the newer entries of the most well-known franchises don't really seem that different to their predecessors, or don't have the same amount of aura. The obvious reason for that, to me, is muscle memory. Fighting games are like sports. You spend years mastering a character to create a tangible form of skill expression. Changing the core variables and adding new gameplay elements sure can be fun, but it also ends up alienating the player base that you absolutely want to keep around. And when it comes to making new content, developers tend to end up stuck. You need to keep things fresh, to stand out from your previous iterations, but not stray too far as not to alienate the players that have dedicated a ton of time into your products. So you innovate, but only by a tiny margin. Even when a game or a DLC tries to stand out, they still suffer from a huge issue that plagues fighting games. The conversion rate is abysmal. The genre fails to hook in new players who stay casual and never dig deep into the mechanics. And in a genre where the real richness and a lot of the budget is hidden under the hood, that's a death sentence. I think that the solution lies where no one dares to look. But first, I want to pay tribute to every single fighting game that tried something weird and failed miserably. Because the main issue with fighting games isn't the core gameplay or the mechanics, it's the refusal to evolve. When we talk about absurd mechanics in the FGC, it's usually as a joke. But those features, they're actually attempts to try and fix the flaws that the genre might suffer from. Things like crazy combat mechanics can be toxic for the competitive environment, but they're trying to address a real issue in game design, where players in a bad position might get frustrated with the system. Hey, fair and always fun. Sometimes, games like Power Rangers Battle for the Grid might create a tiny revolution within its subgenre, like the handshake tag system that set a new standard for fluidity and affordance in tag team fighters. A lot of FGC old heads often complain about a lack of freshness, which to me means that the games that come out might have some new flashy features, but none of them really open up the gameplay for new possibilities. Features like the drive system in Street Fighter 6 or Strive's wall break mechanics are well designed. They're really addressing some specific issues, but they're not radical enough. They don't change the player's fundamental approach to the gameplay. So, I think that we should open our minds to more experimentation within the genre. Also, we need to embrace real story modes. Fighting game story modes suck, not because of the lore, but because of the player progression. A game like Mario teaches you how to jump, then drift in midair, and then you can use these new skills in a variety of situations. Fighting games just make you go through the same loop where you fight CPUs with incremental difficulty. It's boring and detrimental to the overall pacing. Look, we've stolen so much from beat-em-ups. What we need right now is level design. One that teaches players how to apply their tools in the right situations. One that uses the 3 C's to create scenarios where a player must engage with the game's diverse interaction trees. Trial and error in a curated environment is what turns a button masher into a real mindful player. Grinding against bots doesn't teach you how to play neutral or whiff punish. It just teaches you how to cheese AI. Modern beat-em-ups are fun because they squeeze every drop of potential that they can out of their characters. Fighting games should set out to do the same, to show to new players that the fun is accessible and not just the result of an endless grinding session. And yes, that includes the kind of fun that feels invisible or insurmountable to a beginner, like the subtlety of spacing or the satisfaction of a good old key. When we look at games like Elden Ring, it shows that simple combat design like that can bring a lot of fun to the players. If the FGC is gonna die, it shouldn't be from old age. I'd rather see it go in a wild burst of experimentation and creative chaos. And hey, even if we fail, people will still be playing Melee and Third Strike anyway. So, we've got nothing to lose.